Corey, how big a confidence boost is that for you playing against a tough team, obviously defensively, for you to come out and have a career high?
Um, it's a real big boost because last few games I've been off really, and I was on this game, so it's good.
Was there something that they were doing a little bit differently in the second half? It seemed like it was a little bit tougher for your offense to get on track.
Yeah, Eastern Michigan they play real good. They have a real good zone, and they're just long, and that showed in the second half. I couldn't really do much, so.
Corey, talk about the confidence level you're getting as the season goes along here. Obviously, you have 16 in the season opener at Adrian, and time's been on the road, faced a couple of tough opponents there. Looked like you're finding your way, but these last two games here, it looks like that you're adjusting to the college game now, and you're adjusting to Coach Alexander's system.
Yeah, it's a real good system, and we're gonna be fine. I believe we're gonna bounce back.
And talk about your teammates and stuff like that. What's being said in the locker room. I know it's still a lot of positive. The heads aren't held low and stuff like that. So talk about what you guys are talking about in the locker room.
We just all trying to stay together. We don't want to let this little losing streak affect us. We know it's a long season. Like I said, we'll bounce back. We're gonna be good.
You starting to take a little bit of ownership already of this offense?
Trying to, yeah. It's all Coach B in hands. I mean, whoever he gives it to, I'm pretty fine with it.
Yeah, what a great atmosphere today to bring in a tough-minded Eastern Michigan basketball team. Here's a team that was trying to find its first true road win, and I thought they did a phenomenal job today through their veterans in the backcourt. Guys like Magnum comes to mind. Guys like Ray Lee, comes to mind. And then the big fella inside Thompson. I thought they did a particularly good job today of not only handling the basketball. When you look at 16 assists to only 8 turnovers, I think that's pretty good. And those are areas that we want to grow towards. We were a team traditionally that sits at about 12 turnovers a game per contest, and it ballooned on us a little bit to the tune of 19 points. Some of that is lack of concentration, and a lot of that has to do to credit Eastern Michigan's unique Syracuse-style zone defense. And so one of the things that we want to make sure we do during this non-conference slate is play against teams that have a variety of different styles, which helps prepare us for, a very competitive Horizon League conference.
How have these early days been for you in the season? Your first head coaching job. What's it been like for you? Obviously, the losing isn't something that you're gonna ever get used to. But how has it been just personally for you in the early going here?
I think it's been good. One of the things that I came into this opportunity with mentally was knowing that when you're changing a culture, when you're bringing in a new ideology, a philosophy, and an approach, there's always going to be, a little bit of carnage. I lost a few players. There's always going to be, a little bit of learning curve. So what you're trying to do systemically, whether that's offense or defense, might be tape delayed. But what you try to do to cope with that as a leader is you celebrate small victories along the way. And so one of the things that we really have done is we've taken the macro of this big elephant and broke it down to a micro and try to say, hey, let's just get better today. Practices, games, films. When we coach, we try to coach the game in 4-minute segments, believe it or not. It's 10 of them. And each half has 5, and we try to shrink the game down and talk about that. And I think what that has done for us is given us an opportunity to really kind of keep our kids in the moment so they don't get overwhelmed by, maybe the lack of experience that half of my roster has. Even as returning players that really didn't get the minutes last year, like a Gerard Williams and others. Gerald Blackshear comes to mind. Doesn't overwhelm them. And then for the returning starters, and Josh McFarley, Chris Jenkins, and Jaleel Hogan, that doesn't have now the attention that's being shifted to a Paris Bass, now squarely on them. Those are a lot of different shifts that you have to manage. And for me, we just try to make sure we take that into a really small approach day to day, moment by moment.
You do those 4-minute segments. You had to be impressed with the first 4-minute segment excitement, obviously, and you hold them to 2 points. Was it mostly them the rest of the game? I mean, you had 19 turnovers. There was a stretch where you had a bunch in a row. I mean, was it mostly them, or was it some things going on in your offense?
Well, I think when you look at, you got to credit Eastern Michigan. First things first, they're one of the, per possession, they're one of the top in the country, at forcing turnovers on teams, regardless of the opponent. So you got to credit them first. I think the second part of things is understanding the areas that you can attack those different zones. Having coached against Jim Boeheim, Syracuse zones, having coached against Rob Murphy's zones at Eastern Michigan in the past at other institutions, there are certain areas that you have to make sure that you are locked in terms of execution. Tonight, I thought that was fleeting for us at times. They'll create illusions that something is open, and with their length, them being the 5th longest team in the country, you'll think it's open, and that last third of the pass, boom, it's stolen. And so our guys just trusting the game plan with regards to that, was very key. When you look at that statistic deeper, 27 points is generated off those 19 turnovers. Look at the final score. That's the game. There was a stanza there when Coach Murphy took an early timeout, to his credit, and challenged his guys. I even saw him in a rare instance take his jacket off, and they did a really good job on the glass. And so as a result, they generated 19 second chance points to our 10. So 27 points off turnovers, 19 points on second chance shots, really is the tell of the tape in this one.
Corey, obviously big career high, as a young player, not a long college career yet, but some athletic plays there. Is this what you expected from him this quickly? I mean, 2 games in a row, obviously a really good game tonight.
Certainly, a couple things to be mindful of, with Corey Allen in today's performance. Eastern Michigan sits in the city of Ypsilanti. Here's a guy that graduated from Ypsilanti High School. So he's going to be locked in, ready to play, and really excited about this game for summer bragging rights and all those things. But when you shift off of that, here's a guy that's number 4th in the running for Mr. Basketball. He's a really, really good player. And I think Corey is a guy that we want to invest in, a lot moving forward. One of the things I've challenged Corey to do is be very efficient in how he plays. And he did a phenomenal job of that tonight. 7 for 11 from the floor, I thought was really good. I think at one point in time in the first half, he was 5 for 5 from the floor and 3 for 3 from downtown. And so that's the type of efficiency that we're after. He is like a cornerstone of the Coach Alexander program that we're looking to build off of. And I thought it was very evident tonight.
Do you see him cracking the starting lineup in short order?
Well, Corey's been in our starting lineup. I'm not sure if you followed us, but those that follow the Titan basketball, and we'll get you some season ticket packages. Yeah.
So.
No, it's okay. We'll get you acclimated to that. But he's a kid that's tracking to be a career starter. But again, the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores. So we live with his mistakes, knowing that we want to invest in him long term.
What do you think of Jaleel going against a guy that some talk about, maybe a future pro, in James Thompson? It seemed like, especially in the first half, he was really fighting him. He didn't have a super effective game on the other side, and when you got the ball to Hogan, he really seemed to convert. What did you think of his performance tonight?
Well, great players want to go against great competition. I mean, when you look at Jaleel's stat line, 11 points, 9 rebounds, in comparison to Thompson's 15 and 13, some of whom which came when Jaleel was out of the game. I think it was a pretty evenly contested, matchup. Thompson is a phenomenal talent. I think he has the ability to move on and play, professionally after his career at Eastern is over. But I believe Jaleel Hogan does as well. And so I'm really pleased with how he's been able to play longer stretches and stretch out, foul trouble, unlike he did in previous games. And that's a sign of him just growing his understanding, working a little bit earlier, and getting in better shape. He missed a lot of time early in the season due to a concussion.
Yeah, he had the 2 fouls in there in the first half. Obviously, you spent a lot of time with John at U of M. He didn't always like to put guys back in the first half. You put Jaleel back in with 5 minutes left. Is that kind of a statement that, hey, you got to be out there, you're one of our guys, and, it doesn't really, even with 2 fouls, you're going to play?
Yeah, a junior, is a veteran player. And so, it boils down to one word, and it's trust. There's a tremendous amount of trust I have, not only in our seniors, our juniors alike. And you want to give them opportunities to, kind of sit down, kind of get an ebb and flow of the game, how the officials are calling, and blowing the whistle that particular night, and then put them in there, but also not just put them in there with the thought process of hoping that they don't get another foul. We also strategize to protect those guys. You saw we shifted a little bit to zone in that last 5-minute stanza that you cited, but in addition to that, we also, put them on different guys that Eastern Michigan is not looking to, invest in on the offensive possession as well. So, yeah, Jalil is somebody that I trust immensely, that's able to play with 2 fouls. I think Corey Allen went back in there in the first half with 2 fouls as well, and we'll continue to do that from time to time when it makes sense.
How do you talk about changing the culture, how do you keep the players to keep buying into that, even though there are going to be some ups and downs this season, likely? How do you keep the players to buy into its bigger picture?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially when you talk about your seniors, and that has to be the most frustrating part for a senior because those granules of sand are coming out of the hourglass, man, week by week. What we try to do, again, is celebrate those small victories. Where did we take a step forward in today as a program? Well, it was actually at the charity stripe. We shot 70.2% from the free throw line. We were shooting 58% from that area leading into this game. We've talked about that, concentrated on that area. Man, had success in it. Took a step backwards in terms of taking care of the basketball. I think we had 8 turnovers last time we played a contest against Manhattan. We had 19 today. Is that fatigue doubled overtime, the back end of a 5-game and 13-day stretch? So, holistically, what you try to do is let the players know that you have an awareness of the gauntlet that they went through schedule-wise. You have an awareness, that, the defensive style of Eastern Michigan is unique. But just as important, what you try to do is say, okay, let's frame up the week. We just played a tough Eastern Michigan team. We have Murray State on the road on Saturday. And how can we, try to split the week, and give them small goals, knowing that we're working towards the Horizon League Championship. Here's a question for motivation I would ask you. If the Horizon League Championship in the NCAA tournament is Detroit Mercy's goals, are all our goals still in front of us?
Sure.
The answer is yes. And that's how we manage the mindsets.